Okay, so Michael Antwi, how are you?
Yes. Yeah, I'm doing great. How about you? Yeah,
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. So thanks for
great.
reaching out. I appreciate you coming on my show. Um,
Yes.
you wanted to talk to me a little bit about Cardano?
No, not Cardano. Basically, about the Martian network, my own project, what I'm having at the moment,
Okay.
and yeah, and we're going to in some of those Cardano stuff, as in the wallets and all those things. But
Hmm.
nah, we are just an independent project at the moment,
Okay.
and yeah, that's why. Yeah, so basically, that's why I came across to you.
Very cool. Very cool. So what is your project exactly?
Yeah, so Martian Network is a shell file platform. You could compare it because everybody needs a kind of comparison, as in like BitTorrent kind of thing.
Hmm.
But we have our own focus on to have our focus based on decentralized streaming, video streaming.
Okay.
So this is what we're at the moment really working on, and then from there on we have looked into several data storage, file storage, that kind of thing. So we're at the phase of development,
Hmm.
and yeah, basically what we are trying to achieve also with the test case that we have is trying to facilitate the low bandwidth mobile experience,
Hmm.
because our test case will be in Africa, as in Nigeria,
Hmm.
and we're trying to come in contact with those film producers as well. And also, if we have seen Nollywood is the second biggest film industry of the world. The
Hmm.
first one is Bollywood, and Hollywood is on the third. We have that the existence of Nollywood came out of piracy, as in copying VHS, and from there on later on digital, yeah, I say that CDs, and now it's all based on bit and all those other things. So we want to just facilitate a platform that people can really, yeah, let's say a legit platform where people can store their files, and also be in control of their own distribution. So that is what we're trying to achieve with our platform.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. I'm really interested in decentralized content distribution systems. Um, so, you
Yeah,
know, I mean, I think BitTorrent is a very interesting technology, and also IPFS now because it's basically
yeah,
an
precise.
upgraded version of BitTorrent. So, what
True.
what are the protocols or the frameworks that you're using for your platform?
Yeah, basically, because we're still in development, I can't really talk about that. But
Hmm.
but in the base, we're also looking into IPFS
Hmm.
opportunities in there, and also if it comes to other things, storage, we're looking into that as well. But we have also talked with several cryptocurrencies for um, help us out with,
Hmm.
and yeah, basically that. Yeah, I can go into depth about it, but the main thing where we're going to use is this we have looked into, and then we see opportunities if it comes to using apps.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So when
Yeah.
you talk about the African markets or developing markets where everyone is on mobile devices, what are
Nice.
the specific advantages? Like, why are you targeting these markets with decentralized content distribution networks?
Yeah, so as you see, companies such as Netflix are using CDNs and POPs as well to facilitate that. Yeah, let's say CDNs are just servers,
Hmm.
280 terabytes, and and you have to make sure that you have those servers around your viewers, so you can facilitate fast streaming as well, and not without any problems. So the difficulty of having that in rural areas, let's say, not I won't say that Nigeria is really rural, but if it comes to really facilitating that, it's gonna be a problem. So we have to with the advantages of having an let's say IPFS, a cloud service kind of thing. You could see that by that. You don't have the problems of by having any problems with of hosting any I say that yeah, maybe content in this place, because those servers are cost a lot. That is one thing. And second, I'm not sure if any film producer or any film production can really pay that much to facilitate really good streaming. So basically, we have looked into our opportunities, and we saw that that's with IPFS as having that we can help and people could finally stream, because the problem as well is also people in I won't say Africa, I think it's everywhere where they don't have the opportunity to watch a movie because the bandwidth is quite high. By watching 1 hour movie, I think you lost almost like 1 gigabyte of your bandwidth. So with our experience with IPFS, we see that it's quite reduced by watching a movie, but we need help of nodes to facilitate that. So we have looked in the opportunities of that, and see that we can help people in Africa with that. So basically that.
That's very cool. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, when they talk about decentralized or distributed systems, they talk about the potential censorship resistant capabilities of these networks. But the other major advantage of these technologies is that there's zero infrastructure cost, right? So I mean, with incumbent Web 2.0 technologies, if you want to set up a service that's going to have millions of users or millions of accounts connected to it, you need to have a data center, right? And you can kind of sidestep some of those costs by just going, like the upfront cost of building your own data center, by going through a company like let's say Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure, but you still need to pay, right? It's not free, and the more you scale, the more it costs. So with distributed systems, a major advantage is that you can literally just write your platform and then publish it, and it's all software, right? It just all you need to do is create client-side software, and since the infrastructure is peer-to-peer, you don't have any data centers, you don't have any bandwidth cost, you have no cost for setup. So it's a major advantage of Web 3.0 type technologies, is that it literally costs nothing more than software, right? There's no hardware cost. Yeah.
So that's also what we're seeing with Netflix. They're paying a lot for those CDNs. I think like 7 billion in revenue every year. So if you could short it by having that, we already mentioned about having only the software, that you don't even have to pay, because basically every person is running is basically is kind of the server with his own phone or laptop or computer. So basically, that is something we already tackled. And in our case, we try to reward people for hosting their nodes. So they by facilitate their let's say mobile or laptop or a computer with that. So to fight it by bandwidth kind of problem that we see also with IPFS, because you need a lot of people to work together to facilitate any kind of content. We have kind of that. So basically,
Very cool, very cool. So how do you incentivize participation?
Sorry?
Yeah, how do you incentivize participation? Like, how do you get nodes to join and host content on your network?
Yeah, so we have yeah. In our case, we have the um, we we uh, we have like seeders,
Mm-hmm.
and in this case, with the seeders, have by having a certain amount of our token, you can be a seeder, and from there on, of let's say yeah, precise, and from there on, yeah, uh, uh, how you said, because my English is a bit bad, that's okay. Uh, so with our project, we have like what I said already, seeders, and they can participate on the in network, and by seeding the content because when the file comes into the network, people can decide if they will help and see the file. And
Mm-hmm.
from there on, you can get rewarded for yeah, seeding the file. So basically, because those the file chunks, and those chunks could be everybody can share the data of the chunks of let's say the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and from there on you can your bandwidth also by participating by helping the video content, and basically you can get rewarded for hosting that as well. Because yeah, basically that
Okay, so
type of thing.
there's essentially like a token, like a cryptocurrency associated with your platform, and I guess
Yes,
there's
yes,
like a blockchain reward that you pay both to content contributors as well as people
yes,
who host and disseminate the content.
precise,
Okay. So
precise.
how do the incentives work? I mean, so how do you, for example, monitor how many replications of a given file you have on the network? Like, how do you actually count the number of copies of a file that you have? Like, how do you pay the content creators fairly based on views of a
Yeah,
file
so
or based on, I mean,
yeah,
how does that
so
work exactly?
yeah, so basically we have a kind of a on algorithm on that. They have they do it based on watch time,
Mm-hmm.
and we have our own thing based on that kind of algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still looking into that because that is going to be one of those hurdles. But we think we're almost there with it going on. So basically, yeah. If it comes to paying the content creators, we have found a kind of solution to that. Yeah, of course. So as I said, I'm really in the development stage because yeah, further phase I can give you more information about it. Of course.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, I understand. I mean, you know, sometimes when you're ready to launch and you want to make sure that you have the first mover advantage, you know, there's some details that you don't necessarily want to publish up.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, is your platform going to be open
No.
source?
Yes, it's going to be open source. Yeah. If it comes to of course the building of the stack, then not because we have put it in private because yeah, this is something unique what we're trying to build. So in case not really, if it have because you normally would you could go to the GitHub and check out hey how is it being built and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But we have decided to do it in private. So in this case, not maybe in a further phase of our development we cannot. That's mostly a decision take moment. What are you going to do as a project? Do you want to publish it? Yes or no? Or
Mm-hmm.
because there will be definitely more competitors who are going to try to do the same or even
Right.
better. I would say that that makes sense. I would say yeah, if there are competitors and they do better, we can always learn from them. But in our case, we try to put it in private at this moment. So,
No,
yeah.
I mean, I understand, especially pre-launch. you wanna maintain that first mover advantage. Um,
Yeah.
so your platform is going to do video streaming. Are you also interested in different types of content, and are you also interested in live content dissemination, right? So live broadcasts. Is that something that's possible with your platform?
Yeah, yeah. So, so, so as I mentioned in the that we have a use case,
Mm-hmm.
but in general, our project is really big because we to also facilitate WordPress, CMS, later in a later stage, music, podcast, ebooks, all kind of everything that has to do with digital content will be published on our platform. But we take it into little steps because, of course, and we saw that this was the biggest hurdle if it comes to streaming. That's going to be our biggest challenge. We
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure that we can have that challenge, and then from there on we can move further. And basically that, because we don't see any problems with facilitating music and all those kind of things. The biggest hurdle that we had, so that
Yeah, video is the biggest challenge.
is at this moment, uh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So another question that I have is, since you're
Yeah.
developing straight to mobile, how do you plan to kind of address the engineering challenges involved in not necessarily draining your user's battery and because I mean a mobile device is a very battery constrained device, and also the bandwidth limitations,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Are you going to have two different
That has
types
also
of?
to do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, because you see that. Oh, I think the network is a bit bad.
Yeah,
Do you hear me?
yeah, it cuts
Could
it
you
cuts in
please
and off. It cuts it in and off
answer?
sometimes.
Okay. Could you please repeat that?
What's that?
Yes. Yeah. Fine. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Could you please repeat that? What you were saying?
Yeah, I was just saying, there, but I can't see you right now though. I was
Oh,
just saying that there
because of the
there's there's some obvious engineering challenges in building distributed system clients, right?
true.
Client side
Yeah.
software for mobile devices. And one of the major constraints, again, is battery life issues and also storage issues, and also, yeah, the high cost of GSM data bandwidth, right? So for the users, I mean, you're going to be taking up a lot of storage on their mobile phones, and if we're talking about a developing market, they might not necessarily have a lot of storage on their device available. They also, again, because of battery life issues, right? Unless they're, streaming while they're charging their device, maintaining all of those peer connections and doing all of the file, all of the overhead required for streaming content over something like IPFS, and making sure that the data has the full integrity, and doing all of the like the hash checking, the checksumming of every piece of the file, and then speeding it, like
Yeah.
resharing the content. So are nodes, are you going to have two different types of client software? Are you going to have like full node software and then light client software for mobile devices, or how does that work exactly?
Yeah. That is something I can't really give an answer to, because at this moment, so that we're really into the MVP, and we have our focus first on a web-based MVP, and then from
Okay.
there on we're gonna scale down towards a mobile. So there will be of course tests coming out, and because what you're saying makes sense, and what we also see that depends also on what kind of phone you have, also based on the CPU and how much battery life it has. So and also based on the pixels that are coming from the content that could that also can decide on the endurance of battery life, of course. So that's all things that we are still looking into and still in. So as I said, we are still in development. So I think in a later phase, when we are coming through with all the things that we have, I think everything will make sense. So also towards our customers.
Right. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So when do you plan on launching?
First of all, we don't have any have any haste, as in we don't any hurry, because we like we have to really focus on our MVP, on our product, and also want to run some good tests, because it isn't 2017 anymore that people into this digital space and trying to get any ICOs, and later on you hear, oh, this is a scam, or so. In our case, we just want to have our focus on a good product that is working and can help people in the society. So I think with our product, we definitely are going to make a game changer in the video streaming world. But it needs a lot of work. It's coming to the space and then say, hey, we haven't finished yet. So we really focus on having it finish it. Yeah. So I'm not sure, and also if it comes to how long and at what moment, but it just comes it just comes when it comes, and also if it comes to when it comes to the producers, we just want to see if they are willing to test it. So yeah, basically that.
Very, very cool. So, I mean, one of the major issues with this type of project that I see, I don't know what your experience is, again, post 2017, post, IPO, like ICO crash, like you said, one of the major issues is that you're building something very disruptive with no infrastructure cost, right? And you're going to be competing. You're going to be competing. I mean, you're disintermediating the entire Web 2.0 industry with this type of service. So you're disintermediating major players like Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure, and you're also at the same time disintermediating content distribution providers like Netflix, right?
Netflix,
so you're playing, you're going up against some stiff competition, and you're trying to disrupt the industry in a very interesting way. But who has an interest necessarily in funding your project? Like how do you continue in the build phase? Because obviously developers are expensive and they have expenses to pay, right? They need to pay rent, they need to buy food. So how do you propose to keep your project going for a long time if you're not necessarily in a rush to launch?
Because at this phase, everybody in our team is on voluntary base. We have like this moment 13 people. If it comes to developers, we have like two backend developers, two full stack developers, one smart contractor, and two UI UX designers, and one typographer. So our project is basically quite. If it comes to developers, it's quite big. And if it comes to development, it is just it's still on voluntary base, but it will accelerate later on in a later phase if the funds will come. Now at this moment, looking for potential partners to work with, also people just who believe in our product, who want to work with us. So I just pumped into your profile. I just give you a message, hey, do you want to have a call about talking about a project, and then you get the believers, as in uh, yeah, people who are really enthusiastic about helping the project because they believe it is something different. And uh, I have been quite long in this in this crypto sphere, and you see a lot of people buying, if differs, and later on the product doesn't work out as they plan to, because they know, you don't really have passionate developers who are really working their ass off to make it, as good as possible. So we have another approach to this, and I see this is really working out for us at the moment. And so as I said, we have already spoken to several potential partners. So we don't have any problems regarding to that. So basically that.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. I mean, it's always good when you can get people that they're true believers. Just one of the issues that I see is that eventually there's always a runway, right? There's always a certain amount of time that you have before you lose your developers one way or another, be it a financial constraint. It always essentially does come down to financial constraints. If you're working on a project full time, that is an opportunity cost. There's other things that you could be doing. So eventually you do need to see kind of a return on that investment of your time. So
yes. Yeah, so we have already made some appointments of just agreements with each other,
mhm.
and I'm really transparent towards my group. Everything what I do, everything what I've spoken what I've spoken with, I'm quite transparent to my group, so everybody is knows what is expected from him as well from me. So at this moment, I'm just talking to you. Uh, I'm going to make sure that everybody knows that I've spoken to you.
Mhm.
And also, if it comes to potential partners, what I try to do is always try to film it so they know that I have spoken to the person. So that that I'm not, how you say that, the expectations of this project is, that I'm also working hard to make sure that we can move on further. So basically that as I said, I'm quite simple with that, and everybody knows what they expect from me. I can expect. So basically that.
Right.
I think that is really important. Yeah, I think that's really important to, if you're working with a voluntary based project, that you have to be transparent to everything, because basically their input is also the input that for the company to rise on further. So yeah, every company is kind of a CEO, I would say, because uh, we all in this, basically that.
Sure, yeah. So you mentioned earlier that the revenue model for the content creators, the content contributors, is essentially it's token based, right? So you're going to be giving them a certain amount of token rewards, or cryptocurrency rewards, based on how
Mm-hmm.
popular their content is, essentially based on watch time, right? So
Cool.
that your entire revenue model? Just this token based
No,
ecosystem?
no. We have revenue models as well, but some are quite new with that.
Hmm.
So as I said, we have watched into, if it comes to which you were saying about watch time. That was one of the things that we could do, and that is something, one of the things that we're looking into. But as I said, if it comes to streaming, basically streaming, that is one of the business of revenue models. Because
Hmm.
what I said, our platform is quite big, and there are also other use cases coming to the platform. So basically, it's not only one use case that we will have, but in the later phase also, I would say almost 10 other use cases. But we're taking it by step, because as I said, this is one of those difficult hurdles if it comes to video, of decentralized video streaming. So that
Hmm.
is something where look to at the moment, and where our focus is at the.
Okay.
So basically, so that's why I said also we are not, because you can always switch your revenue model based on what the film of the content creators are asking, as in, and also what your partners are asking. So we are quite flexible at this moment, so we can always make adjustments, and then from there on, because we have done a lot of adjustments until this phase, and we see that it's really out for us at the moment. So yeah, we at this phase, yeah. So as I see, this is one of those revenue models, but there are also other models, because I know that in Africa, trust in cryptocurrency is not really hot at the moment. Yeah, it's not really good at the moment. So I know that it's quite a hot item there, but other cryptocurrencies, it's gonna be. So it could be that we say, oh, we're gonna only use Bitcoin in the beginning, or something else, or so it's just check out, okay, what is the real need for people in this case Nigeria, where we go to test it. From there we can manage furthermore.
Right. Very cool. Okay. So yeah, you guys are based in the Netherlands, or you're based in Nigeria? Because I know that your profile says you're
No,
in.
I'm I'm in the Netherlands. Our team is quite international. We have one from here, Germany, Romania, Ukraine, Texas, everywhere. Our team is everywhere, and that is the nice is in Nigeria is also developer. But this is the cool thing about this. You bring people together who normally wouldn't together. So so in this case, it's quite in project as well, also from developer side. And yeah, in this case, yeah, everybody's really good with each other. You communicate with each other. Really, yeah, I would say a really cool project. If I may say about my own project, normally you wouldn't say that, but in this case, I really feel like, yeah, this is something I've never seen before. I like to bring people together, and yeah, that's really working out at the moment. So yeah.
No, I mean it is absolutely a very cool project. It's absolutely very interesting and very disruptive. Again,
Yeah.
so you're kind of solving you're kind of sidestepping the entire infrastructure cost, which means your cost of operation and your overhead it's much lower than everyone that you're going to be competing with when you launch.
Yes.
So
But I don't see myself as competitor. Mostly they would say, yeah, because you're doing this and that, and yeah, I just don't see myself as competitor, because at this moment we're doing something really different, and we're doing something decentralized, and we have other focus to that, and we're not really centralized. But you will always people always try to compare yourself with others. So I can imagine that they think, oh, this is really disruptive and blah blah, and yeah, that is true. But in this case, we don't really feel like we're competitors. If Netflix wants to come to us and say, hey guys, we will really like your work, we would like to work with you guys, I would say, why not? Why not? So I'm just quite open to that. I'm not looking for competitors being a competitor. So I'm basically simple.
that's very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's plenty of space in the market for different different niches.
Yeah, precise.
Different specific verticals, different types of content, different different markets. And I don't think necessarily that these American companies like YouTube or Netflix are necessarily serving the whole market everywhere in the world, right? So yeah, there's plenty of space, and you're not necessarily always competing with someone.
No.
There's a lot of greenfield. There's a lot of greenfield opportunity when you're addressing developing markets and international markets. Yeah.
And we're still in early stages. So in this case, yeah, I would say that's why we don't have any hurry or of building this, because I'm not even sure if everybody is for this as well. So we're just taking it step by step, taking tests, making tests, and from there on we going further, and we'll see how it works out for us. And in this case, in this case, we're still searching for developers who want to join in, and then from there on, trying to build something that's quite unique. Yeah, basically that's simple. I always say
Sure.
simple because it is also simple. You whether choose to join in or don't join. Don't join. And are we disruptive? Yes or no? It's just it's just simple. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so
Yeah.
was there anything else that you wanted to cover?
Yeah. No, not really. But I was quite curious about you, of course, because I haven't really asked. I didn't get really. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in China before. So what I was doing from 2011-ish to 2016 when I was in Shanghai is I was bootstrapping a
Mm-hmm.
startup that was essentially trying to solve kind of the censorship resistant content distribution network, because one of the other major advantages, not only are distributed systems zero infrastructure cost, right, because it's all just software that runs on
Mm-hmm.
over a peer-to-peer network.
True.
But the other major
True.
advantage of these systems, especially if you're looking at something like, for example, BitTorrent, right, is that peers find
Yeah.
each
True.
other over a distributed hash table, and all of the peers are running
True.
over dynamic IP addresses. So as
Mm-hmm. True.
someone who used to run a firewall in an office, right? Like it's very
Mm-hmm.
difficult to write a firewall rule.
Mm-hmm.
I never, our company didn't have any kind of blocking or filtering policies except for blocking like malicious incoming connections. But generally speaking, right, it's very difficult to block with a firewall rule. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Dynamic IP addresses over mainline DHT or Kademlia, where you have something like 20 million
Yeah.
peers, right? Like this
Yeah.
technology of BitTorrent, right, is incredibly censorship resistant.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of
True.
my interest in it. Not only is it zero infrastructure cost, but it's also very, very censorship resistant, and then it's also a more privacy centric, or it can be implemented in a more privacy
It can be.
centric way. So
Yeah. Precisely.
there's a lot of advantages to this technology, but from my perspective, I mean, I'm primarily interested in the human rights implications of these decentralized systems.
Precise.
Yeah, so that's kind of
Yeah.
how my take on it is these are technologies that can enable um, private or privacy centric correspondence, and these are technologies that
Mm-hmm.
can also enable freedom of speech and opinion across via any medium and regardless of frontier, right? So these are very
Mm-hmm.
directly, explicitly human rights enhancing technologies. So that's kind of my
True.
interest.
True.
My project that I was working on, I first kind of started trying to build a network that bootstrapped over IMAP protocol, so email protocol, because again,
Mm-hmm.
you can block email if you want to, right? You can certainly
True.
write a firewall rule to block emails coming into your country, but that would
True.
cause a lot of collateral damage to your network. Now, some of the issues
True.
that we encountered in trying to do this, was that there wasn't any very obvious way. I mean, unless you're doing onion routed messages over IMAP, which would require a lot of setup on
Yeah.
the client side, um, and then also there's an upper limit. Most email providers won't necessarily let you send more than, say, I don't know, 250 emails per day or 500 emails per day.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of there's a limit on how
Limit.
scalable
Yeah.
this technology would be. And then the other major
Yeah.
issue, again, unless you're doing something like onion routing of your messages, your packets over IMAP protocol, you're not necessarily obfuscating the metadata, right? So who is corresponding with
Yeah.
who and at what time,
Oh, yeah.
and how often. So it's, IMAP just doesn't have, it wasn't designed necessarily for what I was doing, which was the point. I mean, this was an out of band solution that just, it cannot be censored because of collateral damage. But then in 2013, post Edward Snowden revelations, I found out about a protocol called BitMessage. And
Okay.
I kind of went down the rabbit hole with BitMessage. BitMessage was interesting, but again, it had some pretty major design flaws. It was definitely secure by design. It was extremely secure, but it was also quite slow and not scalable, right? It was not a scalable solution.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas the whole time I was a big fan of the BitTorrent protocol because this is a very scalable solution. It has no scaling issues. The major limitation,
No.
the major limitation of BitTorrent really is the decentralized index of content, right? So in order to find
Yeah.
content on the BitTorrent network, you have to go to a Web 2.0 style website. You have to go to, for example, the Pirate Bay, and you have, or legaltorrents.org or whatever your torrent search engine is, and you have to go to a website and search for a magnet link. So if you block the torrent search engine, right, you severely restrict. I mean, unless people are going to be copying and pasting magnet links to files and sending those to each other, you're severely slowing down the rate at which content can be shared across the network by not having this decentralized index of content. So yeah, solving the censorship resistant and the human rights kind of applications of these technologies is mainly what I'm interested in. So IPFS, I think, is just an incredibly promising technology, and I'm super excited about it because it solves it solves a lot of problems that BitTorrent has. Like, for example, BitTorrent, you could do video streaming, you could do any kind of file sharing, but trying to have low latency instant messaging over the BitTorrent protocol is not necessarily going to be super convenient, right? Like, BitTorrent doesn't necessarily do any kind of chatty instant messaging type of application. So IPFS kind of solves that because it implements PubSub, right? So IPFS is basically just BitTorrent 2.0, right? It's just a better BitTorrent, and it implements distributed hash tables, and it implements mainline and Kademlia, and the bootstrapping peers. It's going to be a very, very solid network. It already is a very, very solid network.
This is for the drive.
Yeah.
Only what you're saying, indeed, it has 100 million users already, of course, but I think in our case, so as I said, I don't see myself as competitive, but we have a really user-friendly UX as well for people, because you don't have to go to a web browser and from there on download the data and then wait for the data to come in. It's just really streaming in the instance, and from there you can just really watch. So we're having from the back end, it's going to be really difficult to research all those things, and then making sure that comfortable. Probably to solve that issue.
Right, that's very cool. So another thing that's interesting here is I don't know if you remember this or if you're aware of this, but a couple years ago there was an application called Popcorn Time, which
I know.
Yeah, so that they were doing video streaming over the BitTorrent protocol by simply
True.
having a prioritized download of videos by like chunk sequences, right? So the earlier chunks of a
True.
video were downloaded first, and you were able to watch the video
Yeah.
as you were downloading it from a torrent swarm,
No.
which was pretty cool. So
Yeah.
certainly this technology is already proven and it's been done before.
Yeah.
It's just a question of having a good implementation of it and making it work properly, especially on the
Yeah.
mobile use case. I think that's the challenge,
That's
solving the
what I
mobile
mean.
use case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We have good front end developer as well. So he's known with this and he can pretty much solve that problem. From the work I've seen from him. So
Hmm.
we're really into yeah, we have looked into that. But what you're saying about popcorn time and using the BitTorrent protocol, and the problem is also for the film of the content creators, they don't get the full distribution amount, or let's say let's say if you would put a certain amount to the people who are watching the content, they wouldn't get the full amount of it because it is basically everywhere in the BitTorrent protocol. So
Right.
in our case, we can solve it by having a kind of encrypted file file. And so so if it will be shared to everyone within our network and or on our platform, uh, still the main person will get the full revenue out of it. And that was a problem. What we saw in Africa, as in Nigeria, that putting your content out there and getting and all those piracy and people would get a certain percentage for that, and you as content creator would work with that, and that is what we're also trying to solve. On the IFS part, it's going to be a challenge by having an open source protocol
Hmm.
and trying to encrypt the content of it. So that is quite a challenge for us at this moment.
Hmm.
But we're getting there. It looks really promising. So yeah,
Yeah, that's super cool. That's super cool.
yeah,
I mean, you obviously, yeah, one of the major limitations for your use case of the BitTorrent protocol is that you need a little bit more metrics, right? You need to be able
true.
to gather, some information about how many people are watching a given video and for how long.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
don't necessarily have that visibility over the BitTorrent network. So yeah, I mean,
no,
you have to solve that problem as well in order
yeah.
to give equitable payment to the content contributors. Obviously, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, true. And yeah, that is. But I'm not sure if BitTorrent has that they're paying their content creators, or just. But in our case, we just really wanted to have that because we feel like content creators should get the have benefit of
Yeah,
posting their content. So yeah, that is
yeah.
something that we are really. That's why we also put effort on and trying to find having an algorithm that makes sure that I say that the content creators can get paid for the
Mhm.
amount of users that are checking their content. So yeah, that basically
Yeah, obviously. I mean, if you can't pay the content contributors, they're not necessarily going to be incentivized to join your platform, right? So that's
no, no,
that's one of the major issues with scale is that like solving the engineering problem is interesting from an engineering perspective, but you also have to solve the business problems, right? Those are also
business
important
problem. Yeah,
to solve. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, true. Yeah, so that is something that we're at the moment really working hard on, and but so as I said, it looks really promising,
Hmm.
and yeah, so as I said, we're really still in search of people who want to join in and see how they can help us by with their knowledge and all everything. So yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
it looks good.
So where
Yeah.
can for any developers or potential budding content contributors that are interested in your platform, where can they find out more about your project?
At this moment, we're off the grid, I would say.
Okay.
So yeah, so that it also makes sense because we're still in development, but we're gonna soon have a company website,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can see the roadmap and all those kind of things. I
Mm-hmm.
think by the end of February we will have that. This
Mm-hmm.
moment, we already had a logo and all those things, but we also we want to expose ourselves also to the outside world. So at this moment, yeah, one of the typographers working on a how you say that logo, and from there on, the UI UX designers are gonna build the company website, and from there on, we will publish. Uh, we're gonna have a website. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say if people are trying to contact us, I would say try to link it in me. I think yeah, I don't know a link here, but
Yeah,
they
just
can they can
Michael Antwi on LinkedIn. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, Michael Antwi on LinkedIn. If you check out Michael Antwi, then check out the ambassador for Cardano Foundation. You would definitely find me on LinkedIn. So basically that, and then from there on, you're welcome to have a call with me and then discuss further more about the project. Or if you want to participate, yes, yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Yes, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So, okay. Another thing that I did want to talk to you about, because as you mentioned from your LinkedIn profile, after you contacted me, I looked you up, and it says that you're an ambassador for Cardano. So I am a little bit interested in Cardano. I mean, I understand that Cardano is sort of like an alternative to Ethereum and EOS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you talk a
Yeah.
little bit about Cardano and why you're interested in this particular technology?
Yeah, because at this moment, Cardano is still in development. At this moment, they're still working on their I say that smart contract platform, and it's called Shelly.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that Cardano is really based on will also be based for financial institutes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, also by the work of the language that they're working with is Haskell. So in this case, I see really Cardano is is gonna I think is gonna be one of the biggest on the market if it comes to cryptocurrencies. And in this case, as I said, they're still in development, and they're also working on a computation layer, and that's also going to be on a later stage. But yeah, I think in our case that Cardano for Martian, it's going to be because we're also trying to we want to integrate our token onto the smart contract platform from Cardano, but I think in this case it's going to take a while. They have said that it will be finished to be in Q1 this year, but I'm not sure if they're going to make it. But we'll see how that goes. But Cardano is going to be, as I said, a big one for us. And how am I ambassador for Cardano? Basically by helping Cardano from the beginning. Also, with it comes to moderating the community. Uh, so I was really active for Cardano as in helping the Telegram community and also yeah, basically that, and also going to meetups and all those type of things. But at this moment, I'm really busy, and you can also see it in my if you go to my link on the Cardano website in bed. I'm since September I haven't been really active for them because at this case I was really busy with my own project, and they
Uh-huh.
know that, but they know yeah, I'm still helping out with moderating everywhere where I can. And if it comes down to meetups and those things, I'm trying to facilitate it and also try to help them.
Sure. One of the things that I see with Cardano, I mean, like if we just step back and look at the big picture, right? We look at, for example, Ethereum, that
Mm-hmm.
has one of the highest market cap values in the cryptocurrency space, Ether, right? And we also see that, you know, a lot of people are talking about Ethereum, and they have a pretty huge developer community, and they have a lot of momentum in terms of development. And in 2019, they could solve the scaling issue with, you know, things like sharding and other technologies that they have you know, up and coming. So you know, I feel like this is a very mature platform with a very solid developer community, and they definitely have a little bit of a head start over EOS, which is not live, and Cardano also, which is not live. So what are the major advantages of Cardano specifically, since you're kind of a brand, an ambassador for this protocol? So
of course,
why Cardano instead of Ethereum, for example? What's the major draw there?
I think in our case we're quite getting more. We're in this case still more scalable in this moment, but wouldn't try to compare Ethereum and Cardano, because the problem in this case, I can't really say, okay, yeah, we have this or this, because in this moment Cardano is still in development, and the main thing what is it will define Cardano is having that smart contract platform. And that's why in this case, I can really do a comparison with Ethereum or Cardano, because Ethereum is already a game changer if it comes to cryptocurrency and smart contracts. And it's now getting to a point that's really a playground for developers to make their own token. So we can have thousands of cryptocurrencies built on Ethereum. And in this case, you can really compare it to how you say that. Cardano, because we haven't at this moment have a platform where people can build something. So I think we can compare it. We can at the moment will come. The comparison will come when Cardano is finished with their smart contract platform, and from there on, let's say, I would give them a year estimation, and from there on we can make some how you say that comparison. Because it wouldn't be fair to say, hey, yeah, Cardano is going to be build this or that, because I don't know yet, because we haven't built it yet. So
no, I know, but I mean, like from the perspective of a developer who's interested in working on an open source cryptocurrency style protocol on technologies, right? Like, let's say you were trying to convince me, like, why should I work on Cardano instead of working on Ethereum, right? That's I guess what the root of my question, right?
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. I think in this case it would be. I find in this case that I say that Cardano is a bit mature, as in, and will be also will be based on financial institutes as well, and also based on I think in Cardano's case, it's quite new as well, and it gives more opportunities as well for developers based on because everybody's known with Ethereum Solidity, of course, and in this case, you're gonna work on Haskell. Is quite a difficult computation, quite a difficult language to learn as well. What I have heard from developers. So it's gonna give you also a new insight of if it comes to developing your own token, if it comes to when Shelly's ready. But for me, I can really give a comparison at the moment, because so as I said, I can. They're having good updates regarding to development and everything, but it is not yet ready. So for me, it's gonna be difficult to convince you, hey, this is better than Ethereum because this and this, because at the moment Ethereum is also working on their plasma and scalability, with the plasma to make sure to ensure that the scalability of Ethereum is going to be much better than it is at the moment. So and regarding to development, Ethereum is also in a stage that it has all the developers ready, of course. So I can really make comparison. It wouldn't be fair, and wouldn't be
Right.
fair to say, hey, Cardano's better. No, I can make that.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure. I
sorry
understand.
though.
No, no, it's okay. All right. So,
That makes also sense. That would also make sense because if you have a pillar next to a house that is not yet ready or it just is health there, and you can envision how it is, but it comes there and it's built ready, and it's not like that gonna disappoint people. So I wouldn't. In my case, I can't make really a comparison to a villa or a house that is ready to, or a villa that's ready to get built or is almost there. So
no, but I mean, you can definitely speak to the attributes or the characteristics or the capabilities of the house in the future, right? So you know, based on like the architectural blueprints, you should have some idea of what you're building and why it's, and you know, like over here you have a house like Ethereum that's not fully complete yet, but it's way more mature, right? It's way further along in its construction. And over here you have a house where they're still kind of working on the foundation, but based on looking at
yeah,
the two different foundations, right? You can still, I mean,
yeah,
in the analogy of a house, you can tell that this house over here is going to be bigger, or this house over here is going to be bigger, right? And
yeah.
also
True.
by looking at the architectural blueprints, I mean, maybe that house over there is going to have a pool in the backyard, right? Like there are some
Yeah,
propositions, like what is the main value add of the
yeah.
Cardano proposal,
Car-
right?
In, in Cardano's case, you would see. So as I said, I find Cardano they're more mature. Also, the people who are working really with Cardano, and also with the PhD developers and all those of PhD professors. Yeah, I would say that I find Cardano in this case more mature than Ethereum, and yeah, just the how you say the development. What I've seen so far from Cardano development so far, they're just taking the time and really thinking of, okay, what are we going to build and how do we want to build it. I find that Ethereum, yeah, they had, yeah, they just came to the market. Yeah, they also thought about how they want it, but I find now that it's at this stage that it's really a playground for people who just want to make their own token. I don't really feel that it's going to happen for Cardano because it's also quite difficult to make a token on their platform. If I say it like that.
Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, Michael, I mean, I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, it's quite long.
Yeah, anytime you want to do this again, let me know. I thought this was
Yeah,
great, and you know, keep me updated on your progress, because I'm very interested
yeah,
in decentralized video streaming and you know, decentralized you know, content distribution networks in general, for
yeah,
obvious reasons. So just yeah, keep in touch.
yeah. Precise. We will definitely do that. Yeah. And oh yeah, no. What about the video? Can you also send it to me as well? Is it
Sure. Yeah,
if
I
that's
can do that.
possible?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's really great.
Okay. Yep.
You
Will
too.
do.
Bye
Yep.
bye.
Bye.